What's the most awkward situation you've ever been in? One time in college, I snuck into Myra's room and hid under the blanket on his top bunk. My goal was to scare him when he came in and settle down a bit. He ended up coming in with his girlfriend and began making out with her. After a good lifetime couple moments, I jumped up and ran out. No saving it. Edit. Gilded Platinum. Thank you so much internet friends. I've said it to a few of you, but it makes me legit happy that you have gotten a laugh and a smile out of my awkward story. For some reason this one really made me laugh. You made my day. I'm glad I could make you laugh a lot. It was super AWK. Did he know it was you? Surely waiting made it more awkward. Oh for sure. I lived next door and we pestered each other all the time. Could be worse. There could have been no history whatsoever, and you just decided to hide in his bed one day. Reminds me of when I hid under my cousin's bed and couldn't get out because he farted. Okay, I already posted in this thread, but I remembered something even worse. When I was in 2nd grade, my brother and I would always be picked up after school by my dad. We had a green van with a red stripe on the side. So my brother grabs my hand and storms us up to the car. He rips open the door, sits us down, buckles me in, and then says, "Can we get McDonald's on the way home?" We both look up and there is 2 middle-aged adults sitting in the front seat that are obviously not our family. They stare at us, we stare at them. In my little brain we've been staring at each other for at least 10 minutes at this point. My brother unbuckles me, unbuckles himself, we get out and walk away. No words were exchanged. We then checked who was in the car before getting him from that point forward. Edit. I've been on Reddit for 6 years and this is my highest comment by far. Thank you so much for the gold and silver. You're also nice. I've loved hearing your similar stories. I'm going to ask my brother if he remembers this lol. So, I'm gonna need a yes or a no on that McDonald's. After almost 20 years I'd have to say I'm not sure. We probably got a "we got food at home" answer. That's usually how it went lol. This poor girl walked into my lecture by mistake about halfway through. This particular professor really enjoys talking to all of his students and was super engaging even with 400 plus students in his class. When the girl walked in, my professor stopped teaching, looked at the girl, and asked if she was in the class. She said she was, and began walking towards the front, where the open seats were. This is a fairly large lecture hall and all 200 students, approximate how many actually show up to class, were now forced to watch this poor girl walk towards a seat because the professor didn't continue talking and just stared at her. She got close to the front and I think the pressure of the whole room got to her and she said, "Actually no I'm not," and turned around, and we all had to watch this poor girl climb back up the stairs and out of the hall. I was literally watching my worst nightmare. I did basically this. Went to an exam on the wrong day, sat there while a few hundred exams were passed out. Okay, you may flip over your exam. Put my name and ID at the top. Look at first page dumbfounded by questions. Look at second, same. 2 minutes into an exam I had every eye on me as I walked down to the front to turn in the test and tell them I was in the wrong place, then all the way to the back to leave. I've done worse though. I was at a funeral for one of my husband's relatives. On my way in, an employee of the funeral home asked me when I was due. I wasn't pregnant, but I'm fat and was wearing an Empire waistcoat, so I wasn't offended. As I signed the goose book I corrected her and tried to defuse the situation with a joke about burning that coat later, but she just wouldn't stop. She kept trying to apologize and explain herself, and I just wanted to run away. Then I was stuck in a small room with her for the next 2 hours. I have sort of an inverse story. When I was pregnant, I gained a lot of weight. One day while I was very pregnant I was riding up an elevator and someone on the other side waved at me as they were coming down. I did not know them, but I'm friendly, so I waved back. They then realized their mistake and came up to explain. They said, "I'm sorry, you looked like my wife," to which I cheerfully replied, "Oh, when is she due?" His wife wasn't pregnant. That's an oof, if I've ever seen one. I walked in on my roommate in senior year of college banging his girlfriend. We had a rule about a hat on the door if we wanted privacy. There was no hat. When I came back one morning, and I got a full eye level side view of him and her mid thrust because he had the top bunk. They kind of laughed it off, but was pretty awkward for me. Could have been worse, at least it was his girlfriend. Yeah right, cold bean ops mom instead. I'm someone who never feels awkward and doesn't get embarrassed, but this moment got me good. I was doing orientation for my college. I wanted to meet the dean of my department and make a good impression. I walk in his office and he is bent over behind his desk looking for something. I introduce myself and stick my hand out to shake his hand. He sits up and he has no arms. I look at him and look at my hand and I'm freaking out. It felt like my hand was out there for an eternity and I did the only thing I could think of to do. I ran my hand through my hair and tried to play it off. He never said anything and just started talking to me, but I felt like I was actually going to die of embarrassment. You should run your hand through his hair. That would played it off perfectly. I just imagine a dude standing around petting the guy saying "Hossa good Dean, you are. He probably only has that happen, once a day or more often when there are more new people around. I seriously doubt he remembered you were one of them. I don't know if this is really the most awkward, but it was definition awkward. I visited my BO dad's old church in Mississippi a few years ago and spoke to his old preacher for a moment. One important detail for this story is that my dad died when I was 7, so a pretty good while back. My grandma told the preacher who I was. This is Pomelo Sr.'s daughter, Pomelo. Preacher, OHH. Pomelo Sr. Tell him I said hi for me. Me, sure thing. My grandma's face was priceless. We agreed the preacher would feel really awkward when he remembered later that my dad was dead. After my father had passed away, I was with my uncle, aunt, and her friend going to a restaurant. Somehow my father came up in discussion and her friend asked, "Oh, will he be meeting us?" And I replied, "If we make it there safely, no." Ouch. That's killer. I was in the car with my girlfriend's best friend's moms and her other daughter. We made talk in the car and I just ended up asking what their favorite color was. They then told me the other daughter was actually blind. I had barely known these people and was in the car for another 20 minutes. Most awkward 20 of my life. So, black. When I was rushing my fraternity, there was an upperclassman who was literally walks with a stick blind. One night we are all sitting around and he had misplaced his beverage. He asked if I knew which cup was his, and I asked him, "Is it the blue one or the grey one?" Walks with a stick. At first I thought that was what you all called him, like his Native American name, like Dances with Wolves. When I was 13 or 14, the guy I had a crush on took me to a park to talk and learn to know each other. We sat under some trees and everything was going pretty well until guess a bird shat on my head while I was talking to him. I had to go back home to wash my hair a few times. Shat is the correct conjugation. Well done. When I was new to the army, I met some people in airborne school and they invited me to go to New York City with them on leave. I had never been there before, having grown up in a small town, well south of the Mason-Dixon, in a family without the money or desire to travel to a place like that. Of course, I jumped at the chance. The drive up there was fantastic. We all took turns driving, had all the best CDs. This was early 2000s, so CDs were a thing, and lots of snacks. It was a fun road trip. Then we arrived, and as it turned out, we were going to be staying with one guy's parents. I had been told about all the friends we were going to see, did not expect we would be staying with the parents, much younger siblings, etc. Oh, and I was the only female person on this trip also, so I got instant suspicion from the mom of the guy who coordinated the whole thing. I'm just there, like, 19 years old, and wanted to see New York City on leave, after learning how to jump out of airplanes. Okay. The worst part was that we were stuck there for like 4 days, staying at this guy's parents' house, and they would have huge arguments, some of which were about why he brought me there, and I really wanted it to be over after about the first couple hours. It was easily the most awkward experience of my life. Jesus. What a nightmare. What CDs? In college, lived in a frat. House was somewhat dilapidated, and I wound up with a room that did not have a door on it for a few weeks. We had a cleaning lady who came to the house every once in a while. Said cleaning lady would bring her maybe 3 to 7-year-old children with her and they would wander around help her out. One morning I'm getting a BJ from my GF, really enjoying myself. Sixth sense starts tingling and I look over at the doorway. There is a 5-year-old standing there. We make eye contact and he runs away screaming. Classic bruh moment. Not me but a classmate of mine in the 7th grade was talking to the most attractive girl in our class on a little break. Our teacher out of nowhere calls him over to his desk. He hesitates for a second and walks over pitching a tent in his pants. He'll never forget it, haha. F. Back when I was in college I got friendly with a girl in my sociology class. She brought a picture of her boyfriend in once to show me what he looked like. This was before Facebook was massively popular. I asked her who the guy next to him in the photo was. She replied, "That's me." Mortified. Wait, was the girl transgender, or did she just look more androgynous in the picture? I did a summer of research as an undergrad. At the end of the summer we had to present our findings to the entire faculty. My partner and I had been staying up late writing our presentation and had added joking descriptions of the people we were citing, which included some of the people in the department. It wasn't too insulting, but included notes like that one lady with the boring essay on Ziz and other flippant stuff. Somehow that PPT version ended up being the one we put on the thumb drive. We didn't notice until halfway through our presentation in the auditorium that we were presenting the joke version, insulting our audience the entire time. I'm cringing just thinking about it.